Yes.
Okay. Welcome to our new video series, Ringgold Rapid Responses. I am Patricia Klein, historian of the Ringgold Band. In this series, we will meet members of the Ringgold Band and the Ringgold New Horizons Band and get a glimpse of their lives. Welcome, Ringgold Band member Mike Gumpert.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for having me on.
You're quite welcome. So, Mike, what section of the band do you play in?
I play in the trumpet section. We have a lot of fun.
And Mike, do you serve the band other than playing?
Yes, this is my, I think, 12th year as business manager. I enjoy doing it, I truly do, just to meet the people that are our contacts at the different concerts, speak with them throughout the year. So it's fun to do. I like to do it a few more years yet.
And can you explain to our viewers what the business manager actually does?
Okay, basically, the end of December, I send out usually around 50 letters to our sponsors or potential sponsors and ask them if they're interested in having the Ringgold Band play for them. And then when they contact me, then if it's our usual churches and so on, we don't have a whole lot to talk about because both sides are used to doing this. But every year it seems like we get one or two new places to play at. So then we have to do a lot of talking, make sure, for example, the other year we played at Country Meadows Retirement Home. And so I asked for a tent under which we could play because they didn't have any inside facility, and it's not, I mean, it can get pretty warm in the summertime during the evening. So we made sure they had a tent.
Didn't it pour at that gig?
I'm sorry?
Didn't it pour down rain at that gig?
Yes, and I was working at the golf course that day, and I was getting calls all the time. Oh, are we having it? When are we having it? Is it inside? Is it outside? So yes, it did. From what I remember, it did rain that day.
We were very glad to have that tent.
Yes, yes.
So in a nutshell, you're the guy that secured the gigs and the contract for our band.
That's it, yeah. That.
So Mike, how long have you been with the Ringgold Band? Can you remember?
I've been with the Ringgold Band since 1989. I don't want to say I go back further than that, but my grandfather, Harry Boyer, he played in the Ringgold Band back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I can still remember as a youngster, my mom would take us to hear Ringgold play when we could. Now, because of my father's job, we weren't around very much in the summer, but late spring, early fall, if Ringgold had a Sunday school picnic, we would go, and it was always an enjoyment to hear Grandpa play. He was a featured soloist with the band, and well, I have his cornet, but I don't have all his trumpet playing abilities. But it's that Grandpa is the reason why I chose the trumpet, because I wanted to play the trumpet just like Grandpa, or the cornet just as Grandpa did. I'm not there yet. I don't think I'll ever get there. But every time we play Stars and Stripes to finish a concert, I always think of Grandpa. So that's kind of neat.
That's a neat story. And I do have a question that patrons might not know, but you have a twin brother, Jeff.
Yes, I have a twin brother.
Did you join the band at the same time, or did you join at different times?
I joined, I think, a year or two earlier than Jeff. He plays the saxophone. Well, with the band, I think he plays 10 or more than his main instrument, alto. But yes, so I think he joined like in 90 or 91.
We'll have to ask them after so I can secure you're there.
Yeah.
So do you remember your first gig, a most memorable experience with the Ringgold Band? I'm sure you've had many.
My first gig, I'll have a first gig and a memorable story. My first gig, truly, I don't remember because I used to be with the Pottstown Band, and many members of a good number of members of Ringgold played with the Pottstown Band, and Pottstown Band, and I don't even remember the year, it folded and we had like 4 concerts left. So what happened is that somebody from the Pottstown Band contacted Ringgold and asked if Ringgold could take over those performances, with the stipulation that if the members of the Pottstown Band wanted to play at those, they would be allowed to sit in. So that was the first time I actually played for Ringgold, but the first time, and I don't have any idea what those concerts were, but the first that I remembered was at Oley Fair. And it was I don't remember if it was a Friday or Saturday night that we played at the main stage, but yeah, I played, that was my first Ringgold job that I remember playing, and it was kind of neat because it's close to home, and I thought, here we go. I'm hopefully I'll play well enough that Jim will ask me, if Jim Seidel, our former director, asked me if you want to sit in and practice with the band. So that's how I got started. Now, my most memorable concert, it was the dinner concert of 2011. And the reason it's memorable for me is that at that time our son was deployed over in Afghanistan. And he was, at that time he was going to college at Norwich University in Vermont, which is a military school. And when Scott was up there, he joined the Vermont National Guard, and it was their turn for deployment. And so he left, went to Afghanistan in the fall of 2010, and he was supposed to be coming back in December of 2011. Well, our guest soloist that day, and I tried to find his name, he was a vocalist, Jonathan somebody.
Reinhold?
I don't have that. Right, that's it.
Reinhold?
Jonathan Reinhold. And he sang Bring Him Home from Les Mis. And that was so hard to get through because I wasn't thinking of Les Mis. I was thinking of our son Scott, who had at that time about 3 more weeks before he would come back in country. And so I had tears in my eyes as I was playing that, yeah.
Music can certainly surface our emotions.
Oh, definitely.
Not just in our personal lives. I don't have anyone in Afghanistan, but I still cry every time we play that song. It's just a beautiful song.
Oh, it certainly is, yes.
Beautiful song. So, Mike, what is your present or past occupation?
Well, I taught 3rd or 4th grade for 34 years. My first full-time teaching position was in the Warwick School District down in Lancaster County in Lidditz. And I was there for a little over half a year to fill in for maternity leave. Now, the woman whose place I took, she was supposed to stay out. She wasn't going to come back to teaching, but she had a miscarriage, and that was the only position available. And so she got her position back. But fortunately, I had subbed for a year and a half at Exeter. I student taught at Exeter, and I was offered, well, to make a long story short, I was offered either a 3rd grade position at Jackson Wold or a 4th grade position at Lorraine. And when I student taught, when I subbed at Exeter, I for whatever reason, I felt more comfortable at Jackson Wold. So I took a 3rd grade position at Jackson Wold, and I was at Jackson Wold for 33 years teaching 3rd grade. That's a lot of fun. It really was. And currently, I'm a seasonal full-time groundskeeper at Golden Oaks Golf Club. Jeff and I, my brother and I, we started working at a golf course when we were 15, and this is my 50th year actually working at a golf course.
Wow.
So I don't golf. I haven't enjoyed golfing. So I'm glad other people do, because I enjoy being outside. I enjoy mowing grass, making it look nice, and it gives me something to do. I mean, in the summer times, in the early, well, in spring and fall. But yeah, so I was an educator for 34 years, and I sit on a tractor mow for the last, well, full time the last 10 years. So it's kind of neat because when I taught, teaching is so mental. You know that as well as anybody. Just so mental, but working outside, it was neat because I just, instead of keeping 25 kids and 50 parents happy, 75 people, as I taught, when I was working at a golf course, I had to keep the superintendent happy. If I kept him happy, that was good. So keeping one person happy is a lot easier than keeping 20 or 75 people happy. But yeah, I really enjoyed it because it was. I always thought I had the best of both worlds. My occupation was mental and teaching, and hopefully I made a difference to some kids. And that my summer job or weekend job in the spring and fall was physical. So it was kind of a neat balance because I never got tired of teaching. I never got tired of mowing because I knew I had the yin and yang, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us have, a lot of our members are not musicians by trade. And those who are musicians by trade, they have either another job or hobby that, is something different than the music. So we all have many sides, and it's interesting to get to know our members' different sides.
That's
I've known you for a long time. Well, you touched on it a little bit, but can you tell us about your family and your life outside the Ringgold Band?
Okay.
I'm going to say one word: baseball.
Baseball, yes. I love my wife dearly, but Peggy doesn't understand. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think Peggy understands my love of baseball, but she doesn't understand why I love it, I guess, so much. Our father, he was a professional baseball player. He played in the major leagues. Well,
and what was his name?
Randy Gumpert. And he played professionally, in major leagues for almost 10 years. He was involved with baseball from the time he was 18 years old. He pitched his first major league game when he was 18, 2 weeks after he graduated. And he worked as a coach, a manager. Most of his later years, he was a scout. He worked for the Yankees for many years. So you Philly fans out there, I'm sorry, I'm not a Philly fan, but the Yankees paid my way through college, so I like them.
So are the Yankees the team that your father played on?
That was one of the teams. When he first started, he played for the Philadelphia Athletics, who is now the Oakland Athletics. He then, after World War II, he played for the Yankees for 2.5 years. Then he was traded to the Chicago White Sox for about 2.5 years, and he finished his career with the Boston Red Sox and the Washington Senators. Then he pitched in the minor leagues for about 3 years, and then after that, he was a coach, a manager in the Yankee farm system. He was a pitching coach for the big club for a while, and then he scouted, and that was really neat. Growing up, we would get taken out of school to go to spring training because our mother was a kindergarten teacher. And so she was taken off the rolls also. And we were basically homeschooled for the month, for as long as spring training occurred. And so we had to, my brother and I, my mom taught us, then our sister is a year younger, 14 months younger than we are. So my mom would teach her. Then she would go back and give us a lesson, then she'd go help or teach our sister, Cindy. And so we were homeschooled for a month, and then in the afternoon we would either go to the beach or we would go to we always had to get a library card, or Jeff and I especially would go to the ballpark and we'd just sit and watch baseball. I mean, besides looking at Peggy, and she'll say, "Oh, Mike." Besides looking at Peggy, I tell her, there's nothing better than, there's only one thing better than a baseball game. And Peggy goes, "What's that?" I say, "A double header." Jeff and, well, our whole family grew up around baseball. And even when my father wasn't with the Yankees anymore, he worked for what's called the Major League Scouting Bureau. He would take us on day trips to go see ball games when he was scouting. So it was really neat. Well, I think it was neat that we would go and just sit among the scouts and just listen to them banter back and forth about the ball players they were watching. So we really enjoyed it. Now, neither Jeff nor I guess you could say we're athletic, but we weren't good athletes. Our father had more talent in his little finger than Jeff and I had in our whole body. But it was kind of neat because our father knew we weren't good ball players, so he didn't push us. He said, you do what you like to do. You do what you want to do. Just because I was a good ball player doesn't mean you are a good ball player. And he was honest. It didn't bother us. We knew we weren't good ball players, but we played on a lot of teams. Both Jeff and I lettered in 3 different sports in high school. Not that we were real good at them, but we were good enough to letter. But so my dad he didn't push us. And in fact, he helped us. Well, my mother's father, Harry Boyer, he played in Ringgold, as I mentioned earlier, and he was musical. My father's mother and sister used to be on a radio show back in the 40s on WEEU, and my father's sister and her husband, they made their living on vaudeville. So my father had a musical background. I know he was very happy when Peggy and I started dating because Peggy, my mother had a Steinway baby grand at home, and Peggy would bring her music and she would come and just sit down and play on the Steinway. And my father, he said, this takes me back to when I was a little boy, when his mother would play the piano, she would play the zither, and the whole family would sing and everything. So that was kind of neat. So yeah, that's about my father. But okay, back to my immediate family. Peggy, my wife, she taught for over 30 years. She's stayed home with both kids for about 10 years, and she worked at Exeter also. It was kind of interesting because Peggy was most of her career at the Lorraine building. My brother
room was right
Jeff.
next to her.
You're all right, Patty. Yeah.
Right next to her. So yeah.
My brother Jeff taught most of his career at the Lausch building, and I taught, as I said, all my Exeter career at the Jacksonville building. So we had a Gumpert in all 3 elementary buildings. Our daughter Emily teaches 1st grade in the Governor Mifflin district, and it's kind of neat. In the wintertime, Peggy will go 1 day a week to help out in Emily's classroom. I'll go another day in the week to help out in Emily's classroom. 1st graders are a little too young for me. I like the 3rd graders. And in fact, then I go into Owatton Creek, which is where the women that I spoke or taught with, they're currently teaching now. And so I go in another day of the week to help out the 3rd graders. So that's a lot of fun. Our son Scott, who you heard a little about previously, he currently is living in Pittsburgh, getting his master's degree in counseling from Pitt, and he's looking forward to that so much, and so that's kind of neat. So yeah, so that's my family.
Well, thank you for sharing, Mike.
That's a long story, but yeah.
That's okay. I think our viewers will find it very interesting. You have a very interesting background. When we get back together, hopefully in the near future, is there one song that you want to rehearse and perform again?
Well, one composition came to mind immediately, and that was the Holst Suites. But I know that's been mentioned before. I just think they're fun to play.
It's a great set of music. That's why it's been
absolutely. So, in fact, today at the golf course, I was thinking, now what can I tell Patty? I have to come up with something neat. And the first thing that popped to my mind was 1812 Overture. I,
Yeah.
I, I like
That
the
normally
whole.
would be played very soon, up, our July 4th celebration.
Yeah, so I really enjoy teach
Wow.
well. So that's one of the. I guess I'm a weirdo. I enjoy playing music more than I enjoy listening to music, and I don't listen to music a whole lot, which I probably should do more. But one of the few CDs I own is a CD of different overtures, and I really enjoy listening to those different overtures. Yeah.
Good old Tchaikovsky.
Yes.
Is there anything you want our fans to know, our Ringgold Band fans to know?
Oh, Ringgold Band. What did I write down? Let me check. Okay, this quality band with quality people playing quality music. I just think it's so. I mean, some of your
Short and
previous.
sweet.
Yes, I mean it's enjoyable to play with the talent that Ringgold has and the music that we play. It's enjoyable being with the members of the band, and I would like to think it's enjoyable to listen to because I mean we play such a wide variety of music that we have to play. I would think we would play something that everybody, at least one or two pieces, each concert, someone has to like. So yeah, so it's just it's a good quality, very solid group.
Thank you, Mike. I know you well, but I learned some things today.
All
I
right,
didn't know about you. So let's give a big hearty thanks to Mike Gumpert for sharing his time with the Ringgold Band audience and patrons. I am Patricia Klein, historian of the Ringgold Band, and that is another edition of Ringgold Rapid Responses. Bye.
So long, everybody. Thank you.